Today on the Point Blank Performance YouTube channel, we told you guys we're going to WAGLER Competition. That's exactly where we are today. We're joined by Jeremy, owner of WAGLER Competition, and Austin, sales manager at WAGLER. Guys, anytime you call in, if you own a Ford Power Stroke, Chevrolet Duramax, or like a Dodge Cummins I brought in, Austin's going to get you handled. We're going to go over a 6.7 engine in stock form, a deck-plated engine as I got, then we're moving on to a 3,000 horsepower, all billet aluminum engine. We're going to check that out. Let's hear from Austin. All right, Austin, so we got a red engine in front of us. Tell us about it. What is it? What's it good for on horsepower?
Yeah, so this is our Street Fighter series. This is our series that's good for 600 to 1,000 horsepower.
Right.
It's a 6.7 base block, the 6.7 crank, Molly pistons that are standard or 20 overbore.
Yep.
The WAGLER Street Fighter connecting rods that are good for, we're rating them at this engine at 1,000 horsepower. But the rods have seen upwards of 1,500, 1,600. Yeah, been very successful with those here.
And these guys, just to clarify again, this dude's good for 8,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
If you want it, this is your 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, absolutely. And then next thing up, like what you were wanting, the 1,500 horsepower, we have to do cylinder sleeves.
Yep.
We put these in there so that way it makes the block stronger.
Yep.
These are ductile iron, and we'll use we use a cast or forged pistons with those, depending on what you want to do with horsepower and nitrous.
So with my engine, I brought it in here and I said, hey, I want to do a deck-plated engine because that's going to meet the power goal that I want.
Right.
What is a deck-plated engine?
Right, so a deck-plated engine is where we take a 1-inch steel deck plate and we put on top of the block, and it goes between the block and the cylinder head.
Okay.
We also add the ductile iron sleeve.
Yeah.
Between they go down through the engine.
Okay.
We also add the ductile iron sleeve, and then we do the 1-inch longer billet connecting rods to add more strength. And these are good for 2,000 to 3,000 horsepower.
So it's gonna be way overbuilt as far as bottom end.
Right.
It's gonna throw everything that you can at it.
Right. Then we also do the 1-inch longer push rods and 1-inch longer head studs to make up for the deck
So
plate.
it's kind of a package. It's like it's not just a deck plate, it's a spacer.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you got to do it right.
Right. Yeah.
You got to match it up. And in my case, we matched my 6.7 up with the 0304 5.9 pistons.
Yeah.
So you can, just when you call in, then you make for sure, hey, this is what 6.7 I have, and this is what configuration we're wanting to go to.
Right.
So I've called in many times. I'm like, hey, I got a guy who wants a 1,000 horsepower engine, but he is hung up on putting sleeves in it.
Right.
So tell me about the good, the bad, and ugly of a 6.7 to a 6.7.
Yeah. So we can sleeve the like if you want, we still rate that engine at 1,000 horsepower.
Yep.
If you want like the ultimate built, a non-deck plated sleeved engine,
Yep.
We will sleeve it down to the 6.7 bore still.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with that is, and the reason we can only still rate it at 1,000 horsepower is because the sleeve just gets thin to maintain the bigger bore.
And that means if us guys are out there big compounds, it's like
Right.
we're just trying to say, hey, if you go big compounds or big nitrous, like if you split that thing, it's like, man, we told you so.
Yeah, right. Lots of torque.
It's got its purpose.
Yeah.
Cool. So you tell me, Jeremy, on my 6.4 deck-plated engine, what can I abuse that engine to? Because these guys aren't building them just to look at. What can I take it to?
Yeah, I mean, on your build, basically with the good rods, good pistons, still running a factory crank, believe it or not, you can run a lot of horsepower through a factory crank. But with the sleeved and deck plated, and it's coolant, so you can go rounds. Like if you get down to 4 cars left in the drag race, you can just
keep
go back
going.
to back. Biggest thing that we see is making sure you keep your head sealed. Firing kit, bigger head studs, like Austin mentioned, went up to the 14 mil or 9/16 head studs. You clamp that head down as long as you have your tune-up correct and your cylinder pressure stays under control. That thing will make 1,500 to 2,000 horsepower all day long.
So we talked about a Street Fighter engine. It's 1,000 horsepower capable. Now we're moving on to my 6.4 deck-plated engine. Can you tell me a little bit more about it and what actually goes inside of it?
So basically on that, we take everything as far as the block machining. We'll install a 1-inch deck plate on top of the block. We get set up on the machine out here, center to center, punches it out for a bigger sleeve. So it goes out to a 4.4 on the sleeve. Put a ductile iron sleeve in each one. We're firing them. We put the 9/16 head studs, tap all the holes, so it's a stronger, has more load as far as holding that cylinder head down onto the block. It just has more yield on them studs. Also the lower mains is also punched out to the 14 mil or the 9/16, and we put billet mains and everything on yours with a girdle. So basically everything factory block, like the Street Fighter is more of a factory block.
Yep.
And factory mains just has the better hardware, the ARP studs. But with yours, we take it one step further, put the 1-inch deck plate, it raises this whole cylinder head
So
up,
going
1
up here,
inch.
1 inch.
1 inch longer studs, 1 inch longer push rods, 1 inch longer the HD connecting rods, and then it's able to put a lot more power to it. You got a lot stronger cylinder wall, and you can also still go rounds. You have coolant in yours, so you can still go on rounds. If you get down to low car counts at the final race, you don't have to tell them, hey, give me an hour, I need to cool off.
We can go back to
You
back.
can go back to back and go.
So to put it in better perspective for me, so I can get visibility out of it and people watching this, go check out what all goes into deck plated.
Yep.
Let's roll this dude out of the way. So when I called in, I talked to Austin. I said, hey, I want a deck plated engine, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what it is. Fill me in. What's a deck plated 6.7 liter engine?
So basically, the big difference is you're moving your complete top of the engine up 1 inch even.
It's like a spacer.
Yep, it's a spacer. So basically, you take a big steel plate. We machine all the holes, the coolant passages, because you wanted coolant in yours. Push rod holes, we actually add a few extra quarter 20s to bolt it down onto the deck of the block.
Okay.
After that's bolted down, it's all milled, squared. The sleeves are also ready to go in at that point, so they're pressed in.
Yep.
Do the final bore. Yours was a 4125 final bore. We start with 4100.
So
go
that's
to 4125, and then on the solid blocks we go all the way up to like a 4250 bore.
Gotcha.
But you can see the big T flange on the top of it.
Yep.
So that T flange allows it to lock. This is machined out for that T flange. That's able to lock that in. Your firing is placed on top of that flange.
Perfect.
And then your head is actually clamped down on top. So biggest reason for a deck plate, it just strengthens the block, and also your cylinder pressure is always at the very top of the block.
Yep.
So your poor little head studs,
that's out of your factory.
that's your factory length Cummins head stud. That's actually moving that cylinder head up an inch. So these are actually an inch longer, and they're going to a 9/16 or 14 millimeter, depends on what choice you choose. But there's multiple companies, ARP, several guys making studs now for them.
Yep.
But that strengthens that up, keeps that head clamped down, because that's your biggest thing. You have to have a strong bottom end, but you also have to have a lot of cylinder.
And when we're going up an inch, so what do we do with the rods? So
On the rods,
we got to gain an inch, right?
We do an inch on the rods as well. So we have our heavy duty H beams. We do 1 inch longer on the rods. Your piston, you can do different compression heights. Right. Everyone wants to have a little different combination of bowls, so we allow customers to choose as well. On high horsepowered engines though, we like to go with a forged piston.
Okay.
Like these are Ross forged, more like a 6/7 bowl.
And you say that's competition.
3,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
You can make 3,000 horsepower with that piston right there. This rod, everything holds.
Yep.
A lot of guys still do it with the Cummins factory crankshaft, so
right.
it's all good. But as far as keeping the block together, this right here, you have to do it if you want to make the power that you want to do.
So we've talked about my deck plated engine, 1,500, 2,000 horse, it's capable. Now Ben Chatty, he's got a Billet WAGLER Competition Series, aluminum monster out there that's capable of 3,000 horsepower. What's that next step? What does it take? What do you have to make it? What is a 3,000 horsepower WAGLER Competition engine?
So we start off with billet material. So billet material gets shipped in. We have a couple different models of how we do and design it. But ours is basically it has a center section of the block, bed plate, and then also the jug. So the sleeves will drop through the jug. The head studs pull from the very middle section, so you don't have to be pulling from the top at the head studs. So when we find weak limits, we try to build something stronger. Your engine has main caps per crank journal. This is one bed plate that bolts in the bottom, locks all the bearings into place. It strengthens the block, and then the center section houses your cam roller bearings. Roller, we use a Jessel lifter set, comp cams, camshaft. Everything's roller on it, so you can see like the difference between 3,000 horsepower engine and your 2,000 horsepower engine. That's the difference.
Big difference.
Big difference. It locks the cylinder head down all the way through the jug into the center section of the block. We use that's a top fuel drag car.
So if it's good
ARP stud. they're good for 12,000 horsepower. So we're plenty good at 3,000.
Right.
But with the cylinder pressure of like Ben's talking about he's been drag racing it all summer. First complete build that's been racing all summer on a billet block.
Right.
He's done well. He's right there at the world record, trying to compete with the boys out there going fast. The big thing on the blocks, they can easily be disassembled if you're at the track. If you're in a drag race or a pulling application and you have a 2-day event, if you tear it up the first day, melt a piston, whatever happens, you can easily disassemble our block, replace a sleeve, replace a piston, put it all back together and be ready to go the next day.
Set for competition.
Yep.
Set up for competition, you need to work on it at a track, you can get it done and get it done in a timely manner.
Our mindset going into that build on a CX, or what we call the CX aluminum block, is be able to make it repairable, because we know guys are going to tear them up at 3,000 horsepower range. So make them repairable at the track or at the shop. And if you have, a huge malfunction where a connecting rod comes out the side or something majorly breaks, you can basically replace one section of that block. So you don't have to buy the whole engine again. It's a multi-series engine.
Okay,
So
cool,
it can easily be repaired.
Gotcha. So we talked about, 1,000 horsepower engine. You come into Wagler and you say, hey, I want to do a 6.7 engine. We're going to do the as-forged rods. If you want to come into Wagler and you want a 6.4 deck-plated engine like mine, capable of 1,500, 2,000 horsepower, we covered that. And we went to 3,000 horsepower. Not a lot of guys doing that. So, as far as the Cummins world, we know you on the Cummins side of things, but not only that, you do the Duramax and Ford Power Stroke, right?
Yep. Yeah, we do a lot of Duramax. Basically, the pulling world, we have guys running from the small classes all the way up to the big ones. The higher horsepower in the Duramax world would be like the Cummins killer truck out of Wisconsin, the Kuslik guys. They put triple chargers on it, huge power. But at the end of the day, everyone knows you're going to break parts, but that's another engine that we designed. It's aluminum DX. We call that the DX, and that's a Duramax. But same concept as the CX on the Cummins world, just has 8 cylinders instead of 6.
So you're building a competition series engine. You guys know where we're at, know why we're here, and one day hopefully we can get to that 3,000 horsepower level.
Get you there.
We know who to call. We just got to get there. So guys, you got to hear from Jeremy himself, owner of WAGLER Competition. He let us come down, we picked up our engine. Guys, he took time out of his day to reach out to me and you guys about our 6.4 deck plated engine and that 3,000 horsepower all built aluminum inline 6 Cummins engine. If you have any questions about what we covered today, make for sure you jump in the comments, let us know. We'll help you out the best we can. When we get back, we're unboxing our engine, put it on the stand, we're gonna go over it, and that's what you're seeing next week at Point Blank Performance. Make sure you like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you next week.